So I saw this film called The Conjuring 2. You may have heard of it, may have not. Either way, I'm here to tell you about it and stuff. The Conjuring 2 is directed by James Wan, who is the master of horror, as some people like to call him. And I actually do really like James Wan's movies. I like pretty much all of them. I think he's a fantastic director, and he makes great horror films. Like, his horror films are freaking great. I'm always looking forward to them because they always turn out being like one of the best horror films of that year. So yeah, James Wan really knows how to make a horror film, and yeah, I really, like I said, I love his horror films and I look forward to them all the time. The Conjuring 2 is his latest horror film, and it goes back to tell the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren. This time it's on a different case in Enfield, New England, and yeah, just long story short, this family's getting terrorized by some creepy shit, and they go to New England to try and help them and, you know, get rid of these demons from their house, and yeah, that's The Conjuring 2. Of course, there's a lot more to it, but that's all I'm gonna tell you because I think you should go into this movie open-minded, not really knowing much about it. Now, before I begin talking about The Conjuring 2, I just kind of wanted to talk about the first Conjuring. I do like the first Conjuring. I do not love it, however. I don't love it. Ooh, look at that. Spooky. You see the hands are clapping? Oh my goodness. I liked the first Conjuring. I didn't love it. I did not think it was the spectacular masterpiece, you know, that everybody was calling it. I don't think it's, you know, one of the scariest horror movies ever made, as this guy says right here. I don't think it's, you know, that good, but I think it's pretty damn good, you know, compared to the shit we get out nowadays. You know, this is definitely one of the better, like, mainstream horror films to come out, so yeah, I like it. I don't think it's great, but I think it's a pretty solid horror film, which is why I kind of went into The Conjuring 2 with kind of low expectations, you know, because it's a sequel, and although I enjoyed the first one, I didn't love it, you know, as much as other people did, and yeah, I saw the Conjuring, and yeah, I watched The Conjuring 2, and holy shit, this movie's great. It's so much better than the first, and it's one of the best horror films I've seen in a while. Like, it's freaking great. Oh my god. I loved this movie. I loved it. I did not think I was gonna love it. I did not go into it thinking I was gonna love it. But watching this movie, I had the biggest, stupidest grin on my face the entire time watching this movie. I loved this film. This is almost everything I would have ever wanted in a horror film, and I am so glad that this movie is getting the recognition it deserves. It got #1 top box office, you know, and there's so many people going out to see it. That makes me so happy that people are actually going out and supporting this horror film that's actually good and that's actually scary. Like, you don't know how happy that makes me. But yeah, guys, The Conjuring 2 is so good. It's so good. I loved almost every second of it. Of course, it's not a perfect movie by any means, but I think it's a pretty freaking solid horror movie, that's for sure. Man, James Wan, you know, just after watching this movie, he really is, like, one of the best horror directors working right now. Like, he really knows how to make a great horror film. Literally all of his horror movies, without a doubt, are very scary. You know, they always have, like, these scary characters, these scary images, or it's just, his movies are great. Like, I can't explain it, but he just has this very creepy style in all of his horror films, and I freaking love it. Like, it's honestly, he is one of the best horror directors working today. I will give him that. And to be quite honest with you, I do think The Conjuring 2 is absolutely one of his best movies, and he has made a lot of really good horror films, but this is definitely one of his best. I really love this film. This film is very well directed. James Wan does a great job, as always, directing this movie. The cinematography and the camera work, holy crap, I completely forgot to mention this. The cinematography and the camera work in this movie, it's so impressive, you know, how they just kind of play with the cameras in this film. Like, it's very kind of impressive stuff. There's a lot of very long, continuous shots in this film, and they all play out great. Now, I've seen some shit in my days. I've seen some pretty god-awful scary horror films. Believe me when I say that this is probably one of the scariest horror movies I have seen in a very long time. This is coming from a guy who has seen literally thousands of horror films out there, and I am sitting here telling you that this film is scary. This movie's freaky. It freaked me out. It's scary. That's the biggest compliment I could give a horror film, like, ever. This movie was legitimately scary, and I am so happy to say that. I would love to just sit here and talk about this movie with you guys, but honestly, like, I don't really want to give anything away about this movie. I just say go see it, like, just go watch this movie. I will say this, though, there is a scene in this film involving a character called the Crooked Man, and it may be one of my favorite sequences in a horror film ever. It's great. I loved everything that had to do with this character. He's barely in the movie, but I loved it. I loved every single scene with this character, and I thought it was great, and like I said, one of my favorite sequences in a horror film ever. Notice how I say one of my favorite, not one of the best, but one of my personal favorite. Guys, if you haven't seen The Conjuring 2 yet, what are you doing? Just go watch it. It's scary. It's great. It's actually scary. Like, I'm so happy to see a movie like this out in theaters right now, especially, like, you know, a worldwide mainstream film, you know, that both film enthusiasts and general audiences can go and enjoy and watch together, knowing that they're watching a great horror film. So, yes, I would wholeheartedly recommend watching The Conjuring 2. And like I mentioned before, this is not a perfect movie, you know, this movie definitely has its little flaws, you know, they're just kind of so little to the point where I don't even think it's, like, worth, you know, mentioning them. It's just, they're very minor nitpicks that I have with the film. Nothing that really affects the film overall. I think it's a really, really good horror film. Overall, I'm probably going to give this film a 4.5 out of 5. I loved it. It's one of the best films, not only one of the best horror films of the year, but one of the best films of the year, in my opinion. I think it's great. I was very, very happy watching this movie. I don't think I've been this happy watching a horror film since The Witch. I know that just came out this year, and that movie may probably still be my favorite horror film of the year, but this one comes very close. I think this movie's definitely scarier than The Witch, but The Witch is most definitely overall just a much better movie. But this movie's scarier. I will give it that. Oh, there's also a nun in this movie who's creepy as shit. She's creepy. That's all I gotta say about it. That's pretty much all I gotta say about The Conjuring 2. Yeah, I'm super stoked. You know, I'm happy for other people and for this film. You know, just the fact that it exists and it's actually scary, it makes me very happy. I was actually working one day, and this kid came up to me, and this kid was like, yeah, I was actually watching this movie in there, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called the Conjunction, and I said, it's not the Conjunction, you fucktard, it's called The Conjuring, but anyways, he was like, yeah, dude, I've never seen a movie that scary before in my life, I've never seen a movie like that, like, oh my gosh, I can't, you know, I don't want to go back, it's so scary, and I was like, I know, man, I've seen it before, it's pretty darn scary, and we were just kind of talking about the movie, and he was like, yeah, well, I gotta go back, I'm on that part with the Crooked Man, he's so creepy, I'm gonna go back and watch the movie now, anyways, thanks, and I'm just thinking to myself the whole time, like, man, that makes me so happy to see that people are actually enjoying this movie, and that it's actually scary, like, it's just, that kid was just having such a good time watching an actually scary movie, something that we haven't had in a while and that we needed, and James Wan definitely brought it back to us. But yeah, the kid actually called it The Conjunction. I was like, The Conjunction? No, it's The Conjuring. The Conjunction. Watch out for those butts and ands and fours. They're coming to get you! Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Jacob Palacio. Go watch The Conjuring 2. Please support this film. We need to make more movies like this movie. It's great. One of the best horror films of the year. So, yeah. That's all I gotta say about it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jacob Palacio. I already said that. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.